Oh man, what's going on, y'all? It is Zach.
And Ade.
And you're listening to Living Corporate. Yes, they are. Now listen, it's funny. You know, we've been around for over a year. And we've yet to explicitly talk about diversity and inclusion. I mean, our podcast is essentially about diversity and inclusion, right? But we've yet to talk about it like explicitly on this podcast, like as a subject. And I find that kind of weird.
Super weird.
Okay.
Super
cool.
odd.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. I mean, you would think it's kind of low hanging fruit. It's like right there, you know. But we start off with these concepts and everyman topics, and we didn't really like go straight at it. I don't know why we are just now getting into this. I don't know. Anyway, diversity and inclusion. Ade, what is diversity and inclusion? Like when we use the words diversity and inclusion, like what do we typically think of? Like what are we talking about?
We're talking about an actual effort by an organization, big or small, to ensure that their workplace, their groups, their team members are representative of the world at large, that their spaces are not these homogenous microcosms, and that they are really and truly including everybody in their missions. I think that would be my personal definition of diversity and inclusion.
Well, it's fire because you said homogenous and microcosms back to back.
Bloop. Get at me.
Bars. No, I agree with that. It's funny though, because oftentimes I do believe that's the definition in theory, but a lot of times the term diversity and inclusion is just kind of used to make sure that folks don't get sued, right? Like, we're not racist and we don't discriminate against people. So we're going to use the term diversity and inclusion.
LOL.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen some organizations, listen, I can't go into all the details, but I've walked into a variety of companies, okay? And organizations would be as homogenous as a pot of peas, okay?
As a pot of peas.
As a pot of peas. They all look the same. Everybody look the same. That's right. I'm country. I said it. A pot of peas. But on their website,
every stock photo of every group you can imagine.
I see the same 5 black people in all these diversity and inclusion photos.
I mean, at least they have the common sense to actually have photos of people that they actually employ on their website. I have seen some egregious cases of literally stock photos.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've seen. That's what I've seen. I've seen the same. Oh, I see what you thought I was saying. The same black people on one website. No, well, I've seen that too. But I'm saying I've seen the same stock photo images across multiple companies.
Like, have you no shame? Have you no decency?
My goodness, there's millions of us out here. My gosh.
There's literally billions. But I think the additional point, though, is that, like, it tells me what you value as an organization when you're willing to put more time and effort into planning your happy hours than you are into truly representing not just racially, but with the gender diversity makeup, with the disability diversity makeup, with, like, there's so much that goes into thinking through what it means to have a diverse organization, and y'all will blow your HR budget on beer, and not even good beer.
Not even good beer, low key.
It drives me nuts that the conversation that we have about diversity and inclusion is about making it more palatable for everybody else, as opposed to being like, no, let's center this on what the truth of the matter is and what reality is, as opposed to let's center this on what makes people comfortable.
That's real. You kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but I feel you.
My bad.
No, you good. You good. I'm excited. I mean, like now I'm activated. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. Let's go.
Get active.
But no, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because, so I had like a crazy idea, right? So we know that companies actively, you know, like when you look at black and brown unemployment, disabled unemployment, it is drastically higher, right, than majority unemployment. It would be dope though if companies, when they interviewed people and like they know, you're not about to hire that black and brown person, but so you say, hey, listen, I'm not gonna hire you, but I'd love to take your picture for some of our diversity and inclusion stock photos.
Excuse me. First of all, lawsuit. I'm not even gonna say anything. I'll just nod, smile, and like put voice memo on my phone.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face. But you know what though? There's some money in there somewhere, man. There's some business in there somewhere.
All right, if you're done being ridiculous, let's focus.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not really being ridiculous because as an aside, y'all, I just read some article random about this little 12-year-old white kid who is getting 6-figure deals to create dances for rap songs, and then people buy the dances, and then like they pay him, but he's not doing new dances though.
These dances he's creating are a compilation of dances that black people came up with.
Yes.
I think this is a separate conversation actually, but I wanted to have a conversation about what it means to monetize blackness divorced of black people.
I'm here for it. I'm what is it? And I feel like
we're going down this rabbit hole.
we are. No, we are. But seriously though, the reason I was like making a joke. It's kind of a joke. It's kind of not. It's like people are out here monetizing and getting bread off of the concept of D&I without actually doing any D&I, right? And so I'm just saying, like, at least if you did that, at least some of these black people who are unemployed, that have a little bit more money in their pocket while they look for their next job. I mean, I don't know. There's something there. But anyway, okay, cool. So we've talked a little bit about what we think D&I is. We've done some research, right?
Oh, actually, I also want to have another example of this.
Yes, keep going.
Did you see recently that Twitter Detroit posted a picture of their office space and all white people, every single person in that photo. Yeah, every single person in that photo was white. Now, I think it later came out that all of the black people that they had deployed at Twitter Detroit was at NSBE. Although I don't quite know the truth of that statement, but it was just a really striking photo that you are in Detroit, a city that is 84 or 85% black.
Detroit is black.
Blackity black as hell.
Detroit, the kind of black that make other people, kind of uncomfortable. It's black. It's a lot of black people.
Kind of. Detroit, up until like 3-4 years ago, Detroit was the kind of black that these type of white people were not going into.
I mean, to be honest, that's true.
Anyway,
so they said all the black people was at NSBE?
I don't know if, again, this is not something that I did a ton of research into because they posted an apology tweet attached to that first image. And I can read the tweet to you, actually.
Go ahead.
It says, "We hear you on the lack of diversity. We're committed to making our company reflect the people we serve, and that includes here in Detroit. We've got a lot more work to do. We have a team at NSBE now, and we look forward to connecting with the amazing people there." I just have 2 questions. The first is there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe people in here, all of whom are white presenting. There are a couple of people who are out of the photo or they have their backs turned, so I don't know necessarily how true that is. But it's incredible to me because I was able to see that photo, and obviously a lot of people were able to see that photo. and immediately see the problem. But what does it say of your organizations that you are so deeply homogenous that you don't recognize right off the bat that, hey, we're in Detroit. Every single one of us in here is white. What does that say about this organization?
Well, you know what they're gonna say. They're gonna say it's about diversity of thought, are they? Diversity of thought.
That's cute. And let me not poo-poo that idea out the gate. Let us treat that as a serious intellectual argument. Okay.
Yeah. So
you're saying that diversity of thought is more important than physical diversity, gender diversity, et cetera, ad nauseum. However, what does it say that you think the only diversity that matters, diversity of thought that matters, is the kind of diversity of thought that represents you? Because there's no way you're telling me that you have the exact same thoughts and the exact same experiences and the exact same lens as, say, a Black queer man who grew up in Detroit. There's just no, I don't believe that could ever be the case. Like, if you're a queer man from Midtown Chicago, you don't have the same thoughts as a queer man from Detroit. So I don't understand how that is even an argument that anyone could make. But I say all of that to say that it would suck even more if the person taking that photo had been a person of color, or had been the only disabled person in the office, or had been the only neurodivergent person in the office, and they're not even included in the photo. You see what I'm saying? Like,
oh no, I hear you. Yeah, I'm letting you
there's so
cook.
many different. There's so many different. Thank you, friend. There's so many different layers of complexity to that. That on the one hand, why don't you have any of these types of diversity represented in your office? But also, I don't know that it would be a safe space for anybody to walk up into and say, oh, I'm the only Black person in here having to represent at all times. That just sounds exhausting. So it's a very difficult conversation for me to really think through. You have some thoughts, friend?
You know, I do. And I appreciate you actually like slowing us down a little bit. Because I was going to say that, you know, we did some research, right? And we've read a few things and just a couple of think pieces, you know what I'm saying? Some Gallup data from the civil rights movement and some other things, you know what I'm saying? Labor data all around. What does it really mean to be diverse and inclusive in an organization? And, you know, we've seen 5 things organizations doing wrong, the top 3 reasons why D&I doesn't work, you know, what makes an effective D&I organization, what makes an effective D&I strategy, And so look, as opposed to us reading all of the findings that we've had and just kind of reading it to you boring, right? Mm-hmm. We decided, we live in corporate, right? Zach and Ade, decided to give y'all our own list of what you need to know about diversity and inclusion so that you can actually have an effective diversity and inclusion strategy. Yo, JJ, drop the flex bomb. Whoa.
Not the I'm really looking forward to you being a dad, because you're just so equipped, and I'm tired of hearing your dad jokes.
No, right. Drop the flex bomb. I mean, what you mean? In fact, JJ, drop it again. Yes. Let's go.
JJ, please stop. Thank you.
Nah, but it's, you know, it's important. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to give y'all some game for free, right? We're going to give you some of our thought leadership for nothing at all. All y'all got to do is listen. I mean, come on. I ain't trying to brag, but I'm saying, like, we're pretty dope, right? Am I wrong? Got it?
I mean, no.
Okay, here we go. So, how many of these do we have? We got 5, right?
I mean, something like that. But, you know, we can always expand on our list if we start riffing off each other, et cetera, et cetera.
There we go.
We got 5.
All right, we got 5 on it. We have 5 on it. We're not messing with that endo weed because it's not federally legal, but we do have 5 on it. Okay, here we go. First things first. You're really laughing. That's funny. First things first. Diversity and inclusion are two different things. I know.
Bars,
I know. Diversity and inclusion are two different things. Often enough times, we kind of just throw the terms diversity and inclusion like we just smack them together. But they're actually very different, right? Inclusion means the power not only to sit at the table, but to speak and have your voice equally heard at that table, right? And so it's not just enough to have a variety of voices at a table if only a certain number of voices or a certain type of voice is going to be heard. Then it just kind of becomes like a dog and pony show, right? So, right, inclusion is all about making sure that those voices that have a seat at the table actually are heard. And typically, because of the hierarchical natures of these companies, voices that are not high on the totem pole are not heard, right? So it's about making sure that those voices are actually supported and given authority and access so that their ideas can be mobilized, right? I think a lot of times when we talk about inclusion, it's like, oh, we have you in the room, but you're like over in the corner, or you just kind of and it also just kind of makes you feel tokenized, right? It's about actually making sure you have a voice. So
my turn. So beyond, expanding the table and inviting people to eat, that's one of the phrases that I've used to describe, or that I've heard used to describe diversity and inclusion, empowering people. I also would like to make the point that it's not the responsibility of marginalized people to diversify your workplace. What I've seen happen time and time again is that these embattled corporations or people realize, oh no, we treated diversity and inclusion as an afterthought, and now everybody looks like Chad. What do we do? And they will hire somebody, usually a high-profile person, black person or queer woman, or they'll bring these people in and do nothing to change the fact that the culture that fostered this homogeneity continues. And in so doing, make it the responsibility of this person that they invited into this hostile workplace, and make it their responsibility to improve everything. And then when said person starts making points like, yeah, you really shouldn't be making rape jokes during our lunch hour. You shouldn't be making them at all, but it's especially not appropriate in a workspace. Or saying things like, yeah, I'm actually not going to let you touch my hair, Karen. I don't want to do that, and you don't have my permission to do that. So, great talk. They're treated as though they are the problem. And we don't address the institutional racism. We address the black women talking about the institutional racism. We don't address the institutional, just general lack of respect for people with disabilities. And it's something that you would know if you spoke to the people who are experiencing these things, but it is instead more expedient to pat yourselves on the back for your awesome allyship in employing someone in a wheelchair and doing nothing to ensure that this person in a wheelchair is safe, comfortable, and can do their job without feeling belittled or patronized or outright ignored. So, to restate my point, it is not the responsibility of the marginalized person to do the work of diversity and inclusion. That's not their job. It is everybody's job to ensure that the workplace is open and accessible.
That's good. That's good. No, and it's
bars.
Bars. You like that. That makes you giggle. Bars makes you laugh. I've noticed that over the past few episodes here. Okay, my turn. Diversity and inclusion will only go as far as the majority allows it to go. Okay? So I'm saying again, diversity and inclusion will go only as far as the majority allows it to go. So what do I mean by this? Let me give y'all some statistics from some Gallup polls back in 1961. In the throes of our U.S. civil rights movement, I'm gonna give y'all a few data points. Here we go. Do you approve? This is a poll, right? A Gallup poll given to white folks in 1961. In the middle of the civil rights movement. Here we go. Do you approve or disapprove of what the Freedom Riders are doing? 22% approved, 61% disapproved, 18% had no opinion. Here's another one. Do you think sit-ins at lunch counters, freedom buses, and other demonstrations by Negroes will hurt or help the Negroes' chances of being integrated in the South? 57% said they believe it'll hurt. 28% said it'll help. 16% said no opinion. Here's the last one, okay? This is the survey research amalgam. This is April 1963. Some people feel that in working for equal rights for Negroes, Reverend Martin Luther King is moving too fast. Others think he is not working fast enough. What do you think? 8% said he's moving too fast. 71% says he's moving at the right speed. 21% said he isn't moving fast enough. When we talk about, like, historically, right, civil rights, not just for African Americans, but it's the easiest one for us to point to because historically, like, when you kind of, like, there's the most data points around it, and really, if we were to go by the data and the survey data and what people were really comfortable with, then we would still probably not really be, we're not really integrated, but we wouldn't have even the civil rights laws we have, right? And I think an uncomfortable reality is when you talk about diversity and inclusion, you talk about creating a truly diverse and inclusive working environment. It can only go as far as the majority is comfortable with it going, right? And when you think about the fact that, like, when you look at the civil rights laws, and you especially if you look at our present, right? Like, we're fighting to maintain some very basic civil rights laws that we achieved over 50 years ago, just over 50 years ago. Like, and we haven't really made, in terms of legislation, much progress since then. In fact, again, we're fighting just to keep what we established 50 years ago. And really, if you think about it historically, what we fought to get 50 years ago, we should have already had like 50 to 60 years before that. And so, I think that's kind of like, again, just kind of pointing to your point, like really reinforcing your point around the fact that it's not about like just kind of checking a box. And ultimately, it's going to take all of us, the majority, to drive and make sure that we're actually moving forward. It can't be the responsibility of the marginalized to move the needle. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the power. So,
Facts.
So that's number 3.
I think I'm going to expand on a point that I made at the end of my last rant. So, diversity and inclusion is all of our responsibilities. It is not a position. It is not the term Chris Moreland used was a function. And it's also not about how good it makes individual people feel. It's not about the money that it makes or the organization. Like, sure, yes, there are stats out there that show how good it is to have a diverse workplace. But, and I'm starting to realize that it's really not a common thing or a common opinion anymore to do things because they're the right thing to do. There has to be a cost-benefit analysis on this, and that's trash.
That's really trash.
I don't know what's happening. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I know what's happening. It's capitalism.
Right.
But the point is that diversity and inclusion is about you as the individual respecting the whole of other people who are individuals in your workspaces, and recognizing when there are individuals who aren't welcome in your workplace and doing something to change that. Even beyond what it means to be an ally, you are actively doing the work of being a good human being and encouraging others in your workplace to do the same. I think when we were working on the Disabled at Work episode, I read a story about a guy who got a job working at one of these big tech companies, and he just knew it was going to suck, right? Because when he had interviewed there, he did not see anybody who was wheelchair bound as he was, and he had a very large electric wheelchair, and he was like, I can't turn it down because of the money, but I feel like this is not going to be great. But he then told stories of how everybody was inclusive. They would ensure that he could get his scooter up and down these hills in San Francisco. They would ensure that he wasn't just stuck being wet when it rained, or that he could have a standing desk as opposed to the lower desk that wouldn't work for his electric wheelchair. And so there are all of these different parts of what it means to be inclusive, in not just empowering and recognizing the diversity in your coworkers, but also taking it a step further and being like, I'm right there with you. Like, whatever it is that you need in order to feel comfortable in this space, in order to feel human in this space, like, we got to be here at least 8 hours a day, dog. Like, the least we can do is ensure that you are your whole self while you're here. And I think that is such a significant thing to highlight. It's such a significant thing because it very, very easily goes unspoken that you have a responsibility to your coworkers to not just be kind, but be supportive.
100%. 100%. I think it's really interesting too because, you know, I think a large part of diversity and inclusion just comes, like, a large part of it is driven by empathy, right? Like, really, and I know that Chris talked about this too in the interview, was just about, like, understanding someone's story, like, right, building a connection with them, like, really understanding them. It's challenging for me though, because, like, and I love what Chris is doing, not only at Vizient, but with his own startup, Storytellers. You know, I don't have to hear your story, right? Like, for me to treat you and recognize that you're a human being. You know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't have to. I get it from a relationship building perspective. Maybe I need to hear your story for us to, like, really build trust. But I shouldn't have to hear your story for us to, like, for me just to empathize and recognize that you're breathing and walking, or you're breathing and existing and having a human experience just like me. It's heartbreaking, to be honest, when I think about it like that. But okay, cool. So last one, I think it's on me.
Most definitely.
All right. So, piggybacking off of my first point, but it's really important. Hey, yo, if you don't have inclusion, you don't have diddly. Say it again. If you don't have inclusion, you don't have diddly. It's not enough for organizations just to hire non-majority people, right? Because oftentimes, if you look at the turnover rate of non-majority employees, they're significantly higher than majority employees. And if you do a cross analysis with non-majority turnover and minority representation, you'll see some connections there, right? Like you'll see in organizations that are not truly inclusive, that do not have representation and some level of power, distribution of power for non-majority people, those organizations struggle to retain non-majority talent. And I think something to continue to keep in mind, organizations, I'm talking to y'all. Listen, man, like these millennials and these Generation Z, the people coming behind us, we're aware, like we pay attention and we're sensitive to that. Like we peep game. Like we're going to look and be like, oh, there's none of me here. I don't see myself here. Okay, so I know I probably got only so much time to go before I got to find somewhere to be. Or when something goes wrong, or they feel like they're not getting the coaching that they need, or they're not getting the development that they need, or that they're getting passed over for promotion. If they don't feel like they can talk to somebody and they're not represented in the decision, in that pool of people that actually make the decisions and make the company grow, then they're not going to feel like they can talk to anybody and they're going to leave. Right? They're going to be even more discouraged to like even try to stay, because I'm gonna be like, for what? I'm the only person here. They're not going to be as comfortable when it comes to networking and trying to build relationships and
correct.
Right? Because they don't know who they can talk to. Like, and then like many of us we're the first people from our families in corporate America. That's my story. Ade, is that your story?
Only one.
Exactly.
Solo dolo.
And so like, hey yo, like inclusion is important. And I guess part B to this one is, listen, diversity of thought by itself is not real. Okay, that's right. I'm gonna give y'all 2, so we got 6 now. Diversity of thought on its own is not real. It's a term that some group of people in some laboratory made up just to kind of pat themselves on the back and create diversity where there really isn't any. Okay,
not a laboratory.
They made crack and diversity of thought in the same place. What's up?
I am.
JJ, give me them air horns right here.
Okay, no tap.
No, but for real though, like it's not real. Like, so diversity of thought is as relevant as diversity of experience. And if you look at American history, experiences are sharply divided along racial, gender, lines of sexual orientation, right? There are many other diversity dimensions, but you're going to get that true diversity of thought along those points. All right, cool. So, Ida, you got another one?
Just a final thought.
Do your thing.
I think that paying lip service to diversity is almost worse than not doing anything and not paying attention to diversity and inclusion in the first place. Because when you pay lip service to diversity, you delude people into thinking that your workplace is a safe space and that they can come to your jobs and bring their whole selves and come and do what they love to do for you. When you don't even pretend, it lets everybody know who to avoid. When you pay lip service and you end up being these ultra toxic, ultra just all around disgusting places for people, it's almost heartbreaking, right? Because people want to come into these places and do good work, and go home and love their families. And instead, they come into these places, you gaslight them, pretend that nothing is actually happening when, they're facing all of these microaggressions, they're being passed up for promotions, the careers are stalling, and they have no allies and no way out. It's a pretty abusive relationship, I'd call that. And even further than that, I would say that, you know, you're actively oppressing them in that scenario. So I say all of that to say that if you know that you have no investment whatsoever in diversity and inclusion and the success of everybody, in the growth too, of all of these folks, then just leave us alone. Love us or leave us alone. That's all I ask.
No, real talk though. No lukewarm stuff. Right? Be hot or cold. Either you in or you out.
The man came through with a word from the church for y'all. Don't think I didn't notice, Zachary.
Oh. Man, okay. Well, y'all, so this has been a dope B-side. Just sharing our thoughts about the interview with Chris Moreland. Really enjoyed him. And yeah. Anything else? Do we want to do favorite things? We good?
We can. If you have something.
I got something.
I do have a favorite.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go
okay.
ahead.
Okay, so my current favorite thing is the voice of a young reggae artist known as Coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Love. I've just been listening to her on repeat lately. And finding her music where I can find her. But amazing. I love her.
That's what's up.
That's it for my favorite things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know.
Oh wait, I lied.
Keep going. Go crazy.
One other favorite thing. I have this book I'm currently reading. It is the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Study Guide.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my second favorite thing. This is as a reminder to myself to keep working.
I respect that. Okay. I have one favorite thing.
Okay.
And this favorite thing, it's something that I partake in every day. It's actually a beverage. And this beverage is called kombucha. Oh,
I thought you were going to say water. I was about to be like, don't fight me.
No. I definitely, I definitely do drink water every day though. And shout out, Ayo, if you're listening to this, go ahead, get yourself some water. I don't care what time it is, Ayo. Get some water and take a sip.
Take a sip.
Okay. So. Okay, so
some ASMR peer pressure. That
was incredible. We should actually do an ASMR episode of us just like drinking water quietly.
No. Let's move forward.
These ice cubes. We could no, but seriously though, because we got these mics are pretty good. Like we could just take make sure the ice hits the glass, clink clink clink. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like all soft. All right, so listen here. Kombucha, and please don't kill me in the comments if I'm saying it wrong. I'm country, forgive me. It is a fermented, only slightly alcoholic green or black tea drink. Okay, it is so good. Like think about it, like it's like a soda. It's like a healthy soda, right? And there's say it again.
Go that far.
You wouldn't go that
healthy.
Far? It's like a healthy soda.
Well, it's not.
It's carbonated. It has some bite to it.
You know what? You're right. Who are me to disagree with your favorite thing? My bad.
It's so good though, y'all. And so it comes in all kinds of flavors. It's a fermented tea, right? So you take the tea and it's fermented, and then you put you can put whatever you want in there to flavor it. So my favorite flavor is gingerade. It's like ginger and lemon and honey, and ferment with the kombucha. Man, it is so good, and it's low calorie, right? So like a bottle, like the same amount of this drink that would be 200 calories in soda is like 50 calories, and it's good for your digestion, so it helps keep you regular. That's right. We're talking about health. We talk about wellness on this podcast, so part of wellness is making sure that you're regular. Come on, Ade. You know what I'm talking about.
Please leave me out of this narrative.
But it's important, y'all, and it's important. It's important to be regular. And so anyway, kombucha, it helps. It has those live cultures and bacteria for your stomach, and it's just delicious. It's just so good. So yeah, that's my favorite thing. I don't have a brand because we don't have no sponsors for kombucha yet. Just like, you know, Capital City Mumbo Sauce ain't want to show us any love, but we still love y'all. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm not giving no more free ads. Okay. So I'm not going to talk about the brand. I'm going to just say I like kombucha. Or is it kombucha? What is it? I'm
pretty sure it's kombucha.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I said it right. So,
but then you said it really, really wrong. So I really don't know if you saying it right in the first place even counts.
Dang, that's jacked up. You're supposed to be my piece.
No, sir, I'm not. Candace would have my head. I just...
Man.
First of all, that was a setup. Secondly, I forgot everything I was about to say because I was so startled and taken aback at that statement. Wow. Candace, if you're listening to this, I don't want no smoke. That is all.
Candace gonna show up to DC with that Yamin on her. Apologize.
All of the choppers just aimed in my direction. And I want none of it. I'm good.
Yeah, no, because I'm joking. It's jokes. It's jokes. Candace don't listen to this podcast.
Wait a minute. Now I have additional questions. All right, y'all. That does it for us on Living Corporate. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram at Living Corporate, on Twitter at livingcorp_pod. And please subscribe to our newsletter through www.living-corporate.com. If you have a question for us that you'd like us to read on the show, please make sure you email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. We're also taking any wins that you've had lately. We're taking any reviews, any thoughts that you'd like to share with us. That's it for us. This has been Ade.
And this has been Zach.
Peace.
Living Corporate is a podcast by Living Corporate LLC. Our logo was designed by David Dawkins. Our theme music was produced by Ken Brown. Additional music production by Antoine Franklin for Musical Elevation. Post-production is handled by Jeremy Jackson. Got a topic suggestion? Email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and living-corporate.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.